I probably ought to do a separate video um, that's addressed to everybody that's ever worked in the civil service community, either as a firefighter, a police officer, a nurse, a doctor, what we would call protecting. In the early days when I grew up, it was known as emer- uh, fire protection and emergency medical services. Okay, so when you refer to fire protection, we're talking about the eternal spirit of fire. Okay, if you don't got any fire in, you're cold. Okay, right? That's common sense. All you got to do is start a fire and then put it out with water. Now it's cold. Right? Okay. Cold fusion, hot fusion. And so I'm going to say something here that is really addressed to every firefighter that's ever worn a uniform to go out and fight any fire. Okay, believing that the fire is the enemy. Okay, and then every police officer, every guy that ever wore a uniform in the military. Okay, and so because I'm very familiar with how this works with an API interface with artificial intelligence and a simulator. But all the firefighters, like for example, Storm King Mountain. So this is a pretty bold statement because these were lives that were actually lost that are on record on a fire that existed in Colorado back in 1994 with smoke jumpers and hotshots and apparently a couple others that work with Hail Attack because I work for this organization. So I'm very familiar with both its history and what it does. Okay? Under the Federals. Brilliantly illustrated by Yellow Rose for Texas. But what if I was to tell all the firefighters that work for the U.S. Forest Service, and particularly ones that have worked back in the 1990s, 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, going all the way back to 40s and 30s, actually going all the way back to Gifford Pinchot, the first chief of the United States Forest Service, and that all the firefighters that were lost on all the fires that they were lost, either as an air tanker that went down, a helicopter that crashed, a widowmaker on a tree, were all pre-programmed to be terminated. Pre-programmed, which meant that the experience that they had in which they lost their life on a fire, right? A widowmaker, an air tanker was all pre-programmed in order for them to experience that in the future without even being aware of it. Now tell that to all their mothers, all their fathers, and their entire family. Okay? Because the math doesn't lie because it's all based on math, mathematical programming. Now you can pull that in if you want between two magnets, a hot magnet and a cold magnet on a planetary landscape software. I probably ought to make it a point to maybe on Monday call Pasadena. I think that's where they still have their office. It might be in Arcadia, United States Forest Service, and let's get a hold of the sky. I've actually thought about, I don't know if my clan mothers ever thought about this, because I'm putting this up on video to the entire planet, actually the entire cosmos, since I'm a cosmic level antenna. So in other words, what I experience is naturally known through the light, what the truth is, which is what I am, which is what love is. It goes on forever, gifting you love energy. That's what I am in energy. So this is what we call full exposure. The purest of light is going to expose anything that is represented by any darkness. Because I know ever since I was 4 years old, I'm not supposed to experience anything less than eternity no matter where I go. Which means everything that is in my mirror is experiencing what I am, which is eternal love. That they're experiencing in them, I'm experiencing in me. And if you're not experiencing in you what I'm experiencing in me, something went wrong. It means you don't have a connection to me. Okay? When you represent the law of one as an eternal being, it's easy to recognize and acknowledge they're not experiencing that. The others are not experiencing what you're experiencing. That's a crime. Are you aware of that? Because love is the law. Now, if you want to scale this up even further, you could actually start enumerating, doing the math on everybody that died today. Passed away. See you. Remember what Patty Broussard said one time? You don't die down here. So why would anybody fear dying when they know that the energy that is represented by what they are is forever? Because you can always be in some other presentation to present that forever. As an artist, a musician that's playing music that's in love with itself. I'm in love with being what love is. The reason they fear dying is they fear the fire. That's why that little caption on that movie called with Adam Baldwin on Firefighter, in the beginning it said, fire, the eternal enemy. No, eternal fire is eternal unconditional love. So this is why I represent eternal fire, which is eternal spirit that is in that light that is on fire, which is pure light, which is pure unconditional love, right? Which is why the eternal spirit of fire that's in eternal purest of light, which loves the all creation, okay, is going to do what? Protect all of the other spirits that are in that light, which is sacred light, which is sacred love, which goes on forever, gifting electrons, which means you're not supposed to experience any loss of energy when you're in presence of what love is. Which means they should not have ever lost their lives. That lost their lives on those fires. It's in the numbers. Go ask the Masons. Their gematria, numbers, dates, born, year, time, date stamps. QI, artificial intelligence, date stamps. Timekeepers, machines. Timekeepers run on machines. Yep. Alien machinery. Artificial light machinery. I did a deep, on a number of occasions, this is to all those that have lost their lives in the line of duty, okay? That not just because you lost your life and because of the trauma that was experienced, not only the experience that they experienced, okay, by the loss of voltage, the amount of stress, the amount of anxiety that they experienced as a result therein, but of the trauma that was experienced by everyone that's associated with them, either as a coworker, their children, their cousins, everybody associated throughout their extended bloodline. I have gone out here under this rock and throughout my entire life, which is to cleanse and clear every cell, every record of every soul that has ever experienced any trauma since the inception of their soul into creation, to heal them back to the eternity from whence they all came, because it began with who we are, which is what love is that goes on forever. So I realize sometimes when I say that, as if you will, a polarity integrator, which is to pull it all in and return to eternity, right? So my heart goes out to all of you. that are still serving in those occupational codes, because that's what they are. They're occupational codes. And the codings are the codes, which is the programming codes, which is the API interface with quantum intelligence. Okay. I know. That's a big subject. Have a good night. I love you all.